A computer game is providing us with a remarkable virtual view of what could happen if a real epidemic erupted across the globe. Characters in the world's most popular...
On September 13th, 2005, patch 1.7 was released for the critically acclaimed World of Warcraft. This update included a new PvE encounter, Zul'Gurub. Located in the northern eastern portion of Stranglethorn Vale, a jungle zone, Zul'Gurub was a 20-man raid that provided challenges and rewards for high-level players. The challenges of the encounters, as is typical, were designed to be confined to the boundaries of the raid. The whole incident started with Zul'Gurub's end boss, Hakkar the Soulflayer, one ability of which was Corrupted Blood, a debuff that drained a significant portions of players' health over time. Once a player contracted the debuff, it could be passed on to any characters in his proximity. The only way to cure the disease for all players affected was to kill Hakkar. Corrupted Blood drained 200 to 300 health consistently. At the time, a typical max level player had 2 to 6k health, so eventually it was a serious problem for even high-level players, and especially fatal for low-level ones. The mechanic was designed to test the healing capabilities of the raiding team and the speed of how fast they can kill the boss. Once a player with the debuff exited the dungeon, the effect would be removed, covering the situation where players would want to run away instead of fight. Seemingly, all corner cases were accounted for. However, a loophole was missed. Unlike when players left the dungeon, when a hunter desummoned their pet that had the debuff and resummoned it outside, the debuff remained active. After the release of the raid, slowly but surely unsuspecting players were leaving the instance unaware of the fact that their pets were now infected. Still, the patient zeros of this fiasco wouldn't last too long. Corrupted Blood was too powerful for its own good, killing those affected in mere seconds, giving them little to no chance of infecting and spreading further. You see, in order for a disease to become an epidemic, its mortality rate needs to remain fairly low. Otherwise, it kills the host too fast before being able to transfer to others. In theory, Corrupted Blood would be a fatal disease that could kill low-level players within seconds and high-level players only a few seconds longer, so it was fairly unlikely to spread. However, what added a new variable to this equation was the non-player characters. Just like players and pets, vendors, guards, and any NPC could also contract the disease. But unlike players who would die too quickly before spreading it, NPCs couldn't die from it. Since they are an integral part of the gameplay of WoW, they could, and did, lure unsuspecting players to an untimely demise. So as more and more players got it, potentially running around in a panic, these NPC super spreaders were created, carrying a highly contagious disease but not showing any symptoms, remaining healthy enough to spread it without the populace knowing. All of this happened in a matter of hours. Hunters would summon their pets during a raid against Hakkar, they both become debuffed with Corrupted Blood, hunters desummon their pets in the middle of a fight and the fight is over. While they no longer carry the disease, their pets still do. Not knowing this, they run straight to highly populated cities. Once they resummon their pets, the pets spread the disease to any characters around it. And once the NPCs contracted the disease, there would be no way to stop this as they wouldn't die. Innocent players just even walking by them would now contract the debuff, and either die or spread it further. The contagion spread at varying speeds on multiple servers and put everyone in a panic. The cities once populated with players were now filled with dead bodies everywhere. In the midst of the turmoil, some interesting behaviors began to be shown from the players. They began to take sides. Some tried to help on the front line. Certain high-level players that were able to keep themselves alive volunteered to try and help low-level players that contracted the debuff. While there was no way to cure the disease, their best effort was to keep them alive. Of course, while doing so, they would inadvertently contract the debuff as well. Then there were some who formed a group to set up a sort of quarantine zone for contracted players and warn others to avoid transmission. They also came up with some rough guidelines for contracted players, such as putting up warning signs so that non-contracted players will see and stay away from them. However, despite their good intentions, not everyone was willing to cooperate, and some even reveled in the chaos. While there were players who just did not take the situation seriously and ignored following certain player-created guidelines, there was a small subset that intentionally went out of their way to acquire the debuff and spread it to others just for fun. There were also players role-playing as doomsday preachers in the middle of the chaos, and also players who tried to profit from the incident by selling fake potions to others, claiming that it was a cure. Since there was no way to solve the problem within the game, the incident lasted until Blizzard had to step in and institute a hard reset on the servers. However, by that point it had already become a legendary event heard across all gaming communities, and even to this date is remembered by many players as one of the craziest player-driven events in World of Warcraft. To the general gaming public, it would be remembered as such. However, the specific way the Corrupted Blood incident unfolded managed to draw the attention of those outside of the gaming industry as well. In the years following, epidemiologists have shown interest in the Corrupted Blood incident, and even published studies on how it resembles real-life crises. In 2007, an epidemiologist physician Randy Balser published an article about the similarities between the WoW incident and the disease SARS. In the article, Dr. Balser suggested that multiplayer role-playing games such as WoW could serve as an advanced platform for modeling the dissemination of real-world infectious diseases. Following the release of the article, the Center for Disease Control even contacted Blizzard and requested statistics on the event to use in research on epidemics. But Blizzard responded saying they collected no info as it was just an unintended game bug. While it is debatable whether the responses and reactions of the corrupted blood incident can be used for a real-life scenario, there is a reason why some scientists take it seriously. It involves real people and not AI. It was an unplanned event where different people took different small actions that influenced the greater trajectory of the disease. In an article by PC Gamer, Dr. Lofgren compared the 2005 WoW event to the recent global health situation. Quote, "Corrupted blood was this unexpected black swan event, but nature is really good at getting people sick. If you think again in gaming terms, we're making saving throws against new emerging diseases all the time, and sometimes you fail. We have epidemics recur with some degree of frequency. The doctor likened this mindset of getting rid of seismologists who predict earthquakes just because we haven't had an earthquake in a while, but in reality we know that they're inevitable." Lofgren goes on in the article to suggest playing video games at home to deal with the loneliness of social distancing. His personal recommendation? World of Warcraft. Perhaps the Zul'Gurub raid.